Okay. Good evening, everybody in the audience. Welcome. Those listening at home, welcome. Now call the meeting of the Common Council of the City of Columbus to order. Pat, would you take roll call?
Finkler? Here. Hammer?
Here.
Gray?
Present.
Motive? Present. Reed?
Here.
Rolke?
Present.
Steiner?
Here.
Okay. If you would please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Pat, has the notice of an open meeting been posted? Yes, it has. And I'd like to go through and have the agenda approved, but with one action, or one statement, we are going to eliminate number 2, and the person that was going to do that will speak under citizens' comment. So with that change, if we could have a motion to approve the agenda.
Alder Gray moves to approve the agenda with the deletion of item number 2 under new business.
Alder Motive will second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and correspondence and communications. It's been a busy night. You've been running all over the place. Okay, we have several people signed up. First will be Judge Ed Schellen. So if you could state your name and your address.
Thank you. I'm Ed Schellen, 1435 Water.
Your mic's
Ed,
on.
the mic. Oh,
It's on
okay,
now.
he's got it. No,
Okay,
There you
thank
go.
you. For all the times I've worked with this thing, it's always overcome. All right, I'm Ed Schellen, 1435 Waterloo Street here in Columbus, and everybody likes a success story, so I'd like to just take a moment to share a brief success story. A little over 5 years ago, the previous council, felt it was in the community's best interest to keep our officers local and to focus on local community concerns, and voted to establish a local municipal court. And that Supreme Court approval came in 2019. The court has served the community well ever since. And I thought it'd be interesting to know some of the statistics. In the last year, for example, 2022 was the last full year of the court. The court conducted over 26 hearings locally, processed over 1,135 citations. I see Chief Weiner's here, and that's quite an accomplishment concerning it's only recently that the police department is finally fully staffed, so I expect those numbers to rise. Reviewed and imposed judgments on over 90 stipulations, conducted 3 trials to resolve disputed citations, and all adult sessions are open to the public and they're televised. People can view them. And while courts are a separate branch of government, they do share financial responsibilities with the community that hosts them. At the September 29th council meeting, there was concern that the court wasn't meeting financial expectations. And it was pointed out by City Administrator Ellison that a tax subsidy of $31,244 was budgeted for the municipal court. Well, I want everybody to know, and the good news is that, as Paul Herbert would say, the rest of the story, citizens should know that actually the court has generated significant funds for the city. In addition to recovering $579.32 restitution for local businesses and citizens, the court brought in $97,827.33 to the city coffers. $67,256.67 went to the city's general fund, and the remaining $30,570.66, which is net revenue over expenditures, back into the city's court fund. So I consider that truly a success story for Columbus. And my clerk will be handing out some information. This is a good time to get it out to everybody.
She
You
did.
already have it? Okay. So I feel it's a success story as you move forward and consider things in the future. And I just want to share a personal note, if I may. The best definition of success that I've come across is the progressive realization of a worthwhile goal. As long as you're moving in that direction, you are successful. It's not just the destination, it's the process. And the court's success in motivating defendants to, and we got 3 goals. Number 1, practice acceptable behavior. Number 2, own your actions and consequences. And number 3, make better decisions going forward. It's due to the process of giving everyone their right to be heard, to respond to the other side, to understand their other side, to get the facts, and to get the facts from more than just one source. None of our decisions have been overturned, and I consider that, a good mark on behalf of the court. And don't be rushed to judgment. As British economist John Maynard Keynes said, "When the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do?" So what is it that our citizens want as you carry out your task going forward? And speaking of citizens, I want to thank the voters that elected and through whom we get our authority to hold our positions and to serve the city. And personally, finally, I'm really excited about the future of Columbus, and I'm thankful and honored to have served in the past. And I wish everyone here on the council and the different commissions and people serving the city and volunteers, and we couldn't do everything we do without having you volunteers here, the best going forward as community leaders.
Thank you, Ed. Next is John Salzwedel. Did you want to speak at this part or at the cow? Right now. Okay. So name and address, please.
I see the microphone's on. So my name is John Salzwedel. I live at 841 Park Avenue. And I come here tonight to speak on the topic of the auditorium, its history, and to set the record straight and to speak clearly on the past attempts that have been made in the city to renovate it. Previously, I served on both the HLPC and the CAC, the Columbus Auditorium Corporation. I was first made aware of the auditorium space by the matriarchs of this city here in Columbus, Mary Poser and Susan Stair, who championed and established the Historic Preservation Commission. They had an affinity for that auditorium space, and they started the CAC, which I was a charter member of. I was nominated in 2003 to that Columbus Auditorium Corporation and served many years on that corporation. There had been many intensive surveys conducted, and to summarize the findings of those surveys, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to that auditorium space prior to utilizing it once again. Among the greater findings are substantial structural work, and also addition of sprinkler systems and the compartmentalization of the attic space for sprinkler systems for fire retardation, handicap accessibility to the balcony, and also additional egresses from that space pose considerable obstacle. Insulation, HVAC, electrical, the list goes on and on. So simply put, a coat of paint and a little sprucing up isn't going to ready the auditorium for usage. I know that there's been a lot of hard work, time and effort made in the past towards the goal of one day realizing that space to be utilized again, and I for one would love to see that space utilized, but I just want to get it out there that it's not just wiping down the chairs and patching a couple spots in the plaster and moving forward. We have a wealth of information here in town with the Historic Landmarks and Preservation Commission. And if anybody wants to reach out to me to talk about that, I have some knowledge on it as well. Happy to discuss that. I guess additionally, on a side note, I would like to say that as a citizen and as a historic preservationist at heart, I'm concerned about the trend that I see happening with properties that are being purchased in the city. It seems that a lot of the historic properties are being purchased with the intention to raise them. And to me, that gives an appearance to the citizens of Columbus that the council is dispassionate about historic preservation. Obviously, the Dingy property is a prime example of that. So with that, I thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. So Dennis and Scott, you want to speak at the cow? Okay. Then next up would be Mark Rohde. So state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mark Rohde, 743 West School Street in Columbus. Believe it or not, after the last council meeting, I intended to come here and just sit down and listen and observe tonight. And then after the last committee of the whole meeting, I realized there's still some things that need to be said and brought up. First thing I want to point out is that 80% of people have a fear of public speaking. Now, clearly you all don't, and those of us who stand up here don't, but a lot of the people do. And so where I'm going with that is that when those of us that do speak up, we speak up for a lot of people. It's just not a squeaky wheel. There are a lot of people who feel the way those few of us that speak feel. And why do I tell you this? In the last month, I've had complete strangers come to me at the election and pull me aside and say, hey, keep it up. Thank you. Thank you for speaking up to the council. I've had folks at the Easter egg hunt tap me on the shoulder and say, keep going, thank you so much. I've had people at the country club that I haven't seen for 25 years say, when are you going to run? And even my mom can't go to the Columbus Family Restaurant without people pulling her aside and saying, they need to listen to Mark. He knows what he's talking about. They should really listen. So when we do speak, whether it's one or two at most of the meetings or 15 or 20 like we did a couple of weeks ago or a month ago regarding the Dingy topic, we're the voice of the whole community. And we need to be heard. And we don't feel like we are being heard. We don't feel like we're being represented. So there's the insight, the first insight. I'm going to tell you the answer. One or two of us here are speaking for hundreds of people. Hundreds of people. And the second insight is we don't feel heard. We don't feel represented. So it's an opportunity tonight for the new council to take a step back, and the new mayor, congratulations, and actually hear the people, actually represent the views of the people. You are elected representatives to hear and look after your constituents. And a large majority of us are not feeling that we've been heard and represented. Evidence of that, the recent mayoral race. It went 60-40 for the new guy. No disrespect, mayor, but unknown versus the establishment, right? 2/3 of the community voted that the establishment was not representing us. The only contested election went 60-40, congratulations. The two that went uncontested, we had over 4% and over 7% write-ins. Now, I'm not a campaign manager, but if I was, that would scare the heck out of me. The mayoral election had 1/3 of 1% write-ins. But in the other two elections, we had 4 to 7% of the people say, somebody else, somebody who will represent me. So my ask of all of you is please listen, please represent. The answer is simple. I'm here. You think I'm here to make your job easier? I can make your job a lot easier. We all can make your job a lot easier. Your job is to represent us, and as a community, our job is to hold you responsible to do that. And every one of our jobs will be a lot easier if we are listened to and heard and represented. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. And then we have Ruth Hermanson, right? Or I can't make out the name.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Wait till the cow? Okay.
Well, I'll get up and
Okay.
Name and address.
I'm here, Ruth Ann Hermanson, 986 Warner Street. Council, new members, new mayor, wonderful job, wonderful commitment, I thank you for your service. I know it's thankless. I just have a little news to share. Some of you know this. Columbus is a very special place to live, and it's because all of us participate, and so did our foremothers and forefathers. Just building the bank across the street, building the city hall, we all have a lot to be grateful for, our parks, things like that. Now we're the stewards of this town, and it's our job to do our best preserving them and ask ourselves, you need growth, it should be good growth and not just growth for growth. I was honored last night for our CHLPC group and our citizens. I was asked to be on the Wisconsin Association of Historic Preservation Commissions, and this, I have to run, so I'm not on it. So it was just nice to be asked. Anyone that has preservation and history minded in preserving properties, history, culture, you can all join this association. And I just am here to thank everyone that helped put Columbus on the map for such an honor.
Thank you, Ruth. Do you want to speak at the cow also? Or no?
She'll be able to speak during the agenda.
Okay. All right, and moving forward, we will now go into the consent agenda, and it's a motion to approve the consent agenda, correct? And there is the one sheet that you were given. It was for the approval of operator license for Daniel Whitman. So can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Alder Motif will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have Alder Motif making the motion.
Alder Rolke will second.
Alder Roki, second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now we will, let's see, let me get caught up here. First item of new business is election of the council president. The office of the council president can be held by any council member. The voting will be done by secret ballot. It is possible for someone not nominated to be elected into that position. I was looking through Robert's rules and came across that. So nominations for council also do not need a second. So I now open up nominations for council president.
I nominate Alder Rolke.
I'll nominate Alder Gray.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Okay, nominations are closed, and we will now go to ballot. You have the little pieces of paper in front of you.
Okay, there's a vote for Gray. Do you want to write that down? Vote for Rolke. Gray. Rolke. Rolke. Gray.
3-3 tie.
Pardon?
3-3 tie.
Okay. So the mayor breaks his tie in this case, or not? Or do we go to? No? Do we
No,
go? Okay.
in this situation, the council can vote again,
Okay.
or you can have a fist fight or some other means. But voting again would be, at least one other time would be your preferred
Okay, well-
next stop.
Do we have more?
extra ballots.
There is extra ballots? Okay, then let's go to another. And we don't want a fist fight.
No.
Gray. Rolke. Gray. Rolke. Rolke. Gray.
It's the same pattern.
So Paul, moving forward.
You can continue to vote until you get a winner. At some point in time, the council can decide what its next alternative would be. There's been one time in my tenure here where it has come down to a coin flip. Those are basically your options.
Okay. Are there slips yet anymore or no?
Got a couple more.
All right, let's do one more ballot.
Rolke. Rolke. Gray. Rolke. Gray. Gray.
This is a council decision, so it's whatever the council wants. It's literally
So
up to the council.
what would the council like to see going forward? Listen to the candidates for council president, or?
I would like to.
I think that'd be fair.
Okay.
I'd let Alder Rolke go first. You all know me far better than you know Alder Rolke.
Well,
Your mic's not on.
thank you. Thank you for the nomination, Alder Finkler, and welcome. I just think maybe we need a little new leadership here. There have been some decisions that have not met the approval of the city. I haven't always felt heard in meetings, and sometimes I think that there is a little too much talking and not enough listening. I would like to be president because I would like to hear what everybody has to say and what the community has to say as well, and do my best to be a little bit more of a fence sitter and not have such an opinion of my own leading me all the time. I think I've tried to do that as an alder. I have voted with the community on things that I didn't personally necessarily agree with, but I felt like the direction was clear from the constituents that I was representing, and that's why I'd be interested in being the council president.
Ian?
Well, again, thank you for the nomination. I think the big thing moving forward is that while we do have a lot of change with the new mayor, we do also need some continuity. Behind the scenes, I've been working on a lot of things that simply may not continue without me being present as the president. I have turned our meetings from an average of 10 to 11 o'clock to an average of 8 to 9 o'clock, and that takes clear direction. That takes clear leadership, not someone that's sitting on a fence. there is a reason that the president needs to be decisive and stand by their decisions and lead a council. The president is here to lead and make decisions, not to sit on a fence.
All right, having heard both, you all should have one more ballot left, so let's do the ballot one more time.
Roki? Gray?
Yes. Let's ask the attorney.
Okay. Roki? Gray? Gray? Roki?
It looks like they clearly canceled the one vote.
Yeah, that's a vote for that one.
Gray.
Great. Okay,
So
still,
it's
a-
3-3.
So then you just grab about 7.
Well,
I know that she
I
she
said
read
that, but
one,
then
but
I,
it-
we
didn't count
were
it
gonna
until-
talk to you.
so it's a
Yeah, it wasn't
3-3
counted.
tie still.
Yep.
Okay. So are either of you, is the council comfortable with a coin flip? Or, okay, no, I'm, that's why I ask.
My goodness, after 4 tries, I prefer having our new mayor with the tie.
Me too.
We need to agree on that.
I don't think that's an option.
Can you turn the mic on so we can hear you?
Yeah, that's not how that works. This is purely a council member decision.
May I say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe that we really need a council president who has some experience, and we have someone on council who has been council president twice. We have a wonderful, intelligent new mayor. I think you're going to do a great job, but you're new. And the role of the council president is to work hand in hand with the mayor. And so I think having somebody with that experience is important. I know that, and Ian knows this because it's something we have talked about, that he may come off as a little stubborn sometimes and be very passionate about what he believes in. But I believe that continuity and that experience will take this council far. The council has done a great job of making progress, and I really want to see that progress continue. And that is why I voted the way I did.
Can I speak, please?
Molly, yes.
Sure. As the newbie on city council, I just want to point out that, sometimes a little shakeup can be good, and sometimes a new person in can ask the questions and can make sure processes and procedures are being followed. I know I have read a lot of things about what is the responsibility of city council, how are we supposed to operate the agendas, and one of the things that I've seen in past city council meetings is, and, no offense, Ian, I love facilitation of meetings, but I feel like sometimes you drive the meetings to the resolution that you want and not always getting a consensus from everybody at the table. And that's something that I worry about as you continuing to be council president. I think that, I am happy that you can facilitate it, but is it at the expense of everybody else losing their voice?
And if you were to pay closer attention, there are many times where I call where I call specifically on people like Alder Rolke or Alder Reed or others because they haven't spoken enough, in my opinion, and I didn't get enough of their voice. I do that constantly, and at most meetings, I will call on people because I haven't heard from them. Alder Rolke is one of the ones that I call on frequently because she does not speak very frequently. And that is the reality. You can put it to whatever agenda that you'd like. The big thing is we do already have a shakeup. We do already have a mayor that is the polar opposite of our last mayor. And there is a lot to say about at least some continuity and keeping things moving forward. If we shake up absolutely everything, well, you'll hopefully not see that result.
Does anybody else?
I'd like
Alder
to.
Stein.
I think that the role of president needs to be one of leadership, and leadership is a difficult thing to have. It's a difficult thing to actually manage. Anyone who's been a supervisor or manager of people know it's not easy directing people to a direction. For my year that I've been on council, I felt that when I had something to say, I was able to say it. It may not have been agreed by everyone on council. They may not agree with what I say or like what I have to say, but I was able to say it. And that's for everyone to hear and everyone to listen to. And I really feel that with what we have going on, whether you agree with it or not, I would hate to lose the momentum that we have, just in fact to shake things up and have different people pushing a different kind of agenda. The council makes the decision, not the president. He can't do anything without 5 other people saying yes. So if you have something to say, Alder Gray, even Alder Rolke will say it out loud, say it proud. Don't huddle around and say things behind the back. Get out here in council and say it. I find that I have been heard throughout this entire year I've been on here. Maybe not agreed upon, but I have been heard. And I think Ian is a good example of leadership to drive this entire council towards a better Columbus.
And just one other thing for Alder Finkler.
Well, she
My
had
was
her
first, yeah.
light on first.
I would just
so.
like to mention the shakeup and the agenda I have for that is purely to make sure that the citizens of this city are being listened to and not personal opinion. I did, personally witness myself, and I know a hot topic, the ATV, UTV routes. The referendum, I know it was informational, whatever we want to call it, it did pass. And it did go through as a yes. And I felt like in that meeting, Ian, you stated it did not win by enough. So I think we need to put in a sunset clause. That is one of the examples where I feel is not good leadership, and that is leading with your personal opinion.
It's also 1,000% false. I was not the one that decided to put in the sunset clause. That was actually Alder Motive sitting next to me's idea.
Yes.
But that's
You brought
beside
it
the
up.
point. I did not bring it up.
You said that it
I
did
did
not
not
win
bring
by
it
enough.
All right,
That
all
is
right.
not true.
Let's keep this civil.
And speaking
so-
about keeping things on task, I'm also the one that had to point out to our newly elected mayor that item number 2 was against city regulation, broke precedent, and so if you want to talk about keeping things on task, I am the one that is keeping things on task.
I have a feeling, okay, go
I guess I
ahead.
would just like to say to Adam's point that I am a people leader at work, and people leading is as much about listening as it is about speaking. I believe that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, and I feel like, yeah, Ian, maybe you do know some things that the mayor doesn't know in terms of ordinance and policy and protocol, but there's a lot that we're not doing with Robert's rules. We fly by the seat of our pants a lot. I think that we should be following what established process is, not what we have decided that we want to do without an ordinance saying as much. And that's, I guess, what I have to say about that.
Anybody else wish to speak? Trina, anything to add?
No, as much as I generally prefer going the conservative route of keeping things the same, I've just been too concerned the past couple months with feeling like things have been rushed through, that on so many items, more discussion has been needed, more input from the citizens has been in need of gathering. So, yeah, I'm definitely ready for a change.
Anybody else on council wish to speak?
I would happily step down as president, but I do feel that we need a strong leader that can continue our progress. So I would nominate either, I would like to throw in Alder Motive and Alder Steiner. I believe they are the other two alders on council that have the leadership ability to keep council moving forward.
Okay, so we have two additional nominations. Well, do we have to reopen nominations in order to do that?
If you're going to go down that road, yes, because you've already closed the nominations. So if the council wishes to start over again,
Okay.
we can start over again. And I do believe you can nominate one person, but not two.
Okay, so does the council wish to open up nominations again?
Yeah, I would like to keep on service.
Consensus? All right, so, yeah. So then we have, so who would be your nomination then, Ian, or Alder Gray?
Oh, that means I have to pick one.
You will still need a majority.
Right.
So you'll need 4 affirmative votes at some point in time during the course of tonight.
I suppose it's open to everyone to nominate, so you guys can nominate.
I nominate Alder Rolke.
We have a nomination for Alder Roki
I'll nominate Alder Motive then.
and a nomination for Alder Motive
I'll nominate Alder Steiner.
and a nomination for Alder Steiner. Are there any further nominations? Ask again, any further nominations? Okay, I will close nominations, and we will go to ballot.
Motive? Motive? Roki? Motive? Roki? Roki.
Always switch. That didn't get us anywhere.
Oh, goodness.
I got one more round and then I'm ripping, so.
Okay.
Take your time.
Well, we will do another round.
And Mayor Hammer, if I'm correct, Robert Jewell says you can vote for anyone that's on the ballot, is that correct?
True, true.
Mayor, no. Just if someone's not nominated, they can still receive a vote.
Ready? Roki? Motive? Roki? Motive? Roki? Motive?
So any guidance, Attorney Johnson?
No?
No? Okay.
I have my quarter whenever you're ready. Otherwise, you're on the same process and the only one that I think makes any sense. So I don't have any tremendous words of wisdom.
Okay.
Before we do our last vote, I just have a suggestion. We haven't heard from Alder Motive on why she wants to be president. Maybe we heard from Alder Roki.
Sure. So,
And then Alder Steiner too. I mean, he's nominated
oh, that's
also.
right. Sure.
First, I want to thank you, Adam, for nominating me. I would like to be council president. I think I would do a great job, and I tend to look for all the facts on an issue before I make a vote, whether that is talking with city officials or residents or whatever. I too have voted at times, different than I personally feel because it's what my constituents wanted. And I feel that I have a good handle on process and would be able to partner well with the mayor.
Alder Steiner, you wish to speak?
Sure, I'll give a few words. I thank you for the nomination. And personally, I'm not the best leader. I'm not the best speaker. I'm actually very nervous all the time when I'm up here, but I try to do the best I can with what I have. And being on council has opened my eyes to a lot of different ways things are done. We don't always make the decisions based upon what we're told. We make the decisions based on the information we have. So we maybe get 10, 15, 30 people up here telling us we made the wrong decision. One thing I like to remember is that everyone here on council lives in this town. We all make decisions that we believe is the best for this community. Catering to mob rule has a definite problem of just fly by the seat of the pants whims of emotional response to things. We need to take things into consideration that is factual and information based upon what we have in front of us. I like to believe in efficiency and progress through, what government should be doing. I would try to promote that through the year as council president if elected for it. And I would hope that anyone who does also finds the same, recourse in that let's keep things moving in a positive light for the entire city, not just an emotional response to something that could or could not happen.
Anybody else before we go to ballot?
So, in my opinion, is the president does need to be a strong leader. I do believe that Alder Motive or Alder Steiner can carry that role and can keep our community moving forward. I am more than happy to not have to be your president. I think one thing that any future president needs to consider is you are the punching bag of the city. You are the person that has to keep everything in line, and you are the person that has to keep the meetings running, and you are the person that is on the front lines, and whether or not you agree with it or not, you have to keep things moving forward. So it's not, you think being an alder is a thankless job, wait until you're president. But I think Alder Steiner and Alder Motive are both capable of doing it. I do know that Alder Steiner has more limited time. I do believe Alder Motive has more time to put forward to being the president. And I do believe that she can help continue the progress that our city has been fighting towards. And I throw my support behind Alder Motive.
Shall we go to ballot?
And we can vote for it many times, this is not the final ballot.
Right.
We'll copy more, we'll print more.
Nope, I don't get one.
Motive? Motive? Roki? 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 Motive?
Okay. I'm not throwing support towards anybody, but am I allowed to just give a comment?
You are the mayor, you can
Okay.
speak.
Again, I don't throw my support to anyone in particular. I would disagree about the mob rule. Since I started working for Columbus Water and Light many years ago, I was out in the public eye and always had to hear what people had to say. And it was from all walks of life. So, I mean, and then when I was going out campaigning, again, hearing viewpoints from many people. So I don't really call it mob rule. I think people are just stepping forward and taking more of an active interest. I don't know if that's just because of the way our society worldwide is going, but people are starting to pay attention more. So I leave it at that. And we can go to another ballot as soon as he's ready. At any time, if the council decides of a different way that they want to do things, we can discuss that. I shouldn't laugh, sorry. Scissors, yeah. She's checking her purse.
And our teacher, she'll have a scissors.
Yeah.
Okay. Just one quick thing while Kyle's passing. Well,
If it comes up again.
while we're considering our votes, one of the big things to consider is I understand that our voters have said that they want to shake up. You could also consider the fact that I have received more votes than any member on council aside from the mayor. But aside from that fact, we already have a shakeup with a new mayor. We need someone that understands the process and the ordinances, and I do believe that Alder Motive can fulfill that role. Alder Rolke speaks once or twice a month. That is not a leader make. We need someone that can actually lead the meetings and get through things so that we're not here until midnight again, like when I was first on council. That is not something that I want to return to.
Anybody else wish to speak? Okay.
No.
Scroll somewhere else. Roki? Motive? Roki? Roki? Motive? Motive?
So how does the council want to proceed? Do we go forward with continuing to try to vote, or?
I don't think we're getting anywhere with it tonight, so I think we either do a coin toss or I administer one more meeting as the president and we revisit it next time around. Otherwise, I don't think we're doing anything else tonight.
Or the third option, along with what Alder Gray just said, is that the seat sits empty for tonight and the mayor would handle the committee of the whole meeting as well,
That could work too.
if you want to go down that route.
It's up to the council, how they want to proceed.
I'm just fine.
Motive, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you. No,
Okay.
Alder Motive. Sorry.
I'm just fine with letting Ian handle this meeting, and then we can do a vote again at the next meeting, and perhaps the two nominees can speak again at that time.
I'm good with the mayor facilitating the meeting tonight, and I think it's a good idea for everybody to sleep on it since we're all just putting in the same votes every single time anyway.
I'm all right with the mayor running it this time, and we'll see how things run without Ian as president for a night, and if that's really what I want to do, and it'd be a good perspective for all of us, I think.
I think that's a fair.
Alder,
Oh, thank you.
Reed? Yeah.
Oh, yes, I was also leaning towards having the mayor run both meetings tonight. That way it keeps a fresh palette for us to think about and consider for next time.
Ian, Alder Roki?
I am also good with you running the meeting tonight.
Okay.
All right. Consensus, good.
Okay, so then, item number 1 on your agenda for your next meeting.
Is tabled.
Item number 1 for the May 2nd meeting will be this process all over again. You will have open nominations again, so you can decide how you want to handle all that. Otherwise, the process is basically going to be the same. And welcome to Columbus.
All right, so since we are in a regular meeting and we should probably have an official action, I move to table the election of the council president to our next regular meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ian.
I can second.
All right, we have a motion by Alder Gray and a second by Alder Steiner to table this and move it to the May 2nd meeting for the council president election. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Good. Move forward. Okay, we move forward now to item number 3, which is consider and take action on the task order 2023-02, the 2023 street maintenance task order. So you have the information in front of you. If you have any questions for Jason over there. Everybody is good with this? Then can I have a motion to accept the task order 2023-02?
Alder Gray moves to approve the task order 2023-02.
Alder Rolke will second.
We have a motion by Alder Gray to move forward with task order 2023-02 and a second by Alder Rolke. This will be a roll call vote.
Gray?
Aye?
Motive?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Roki?
Aye.
Steiner?
Aye.
Binkler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, then we will move forward to item number 4, which is to consider and take action on the CUP for Meister Park Lift Station. Those that don't know, CUP is conditional use permit. And again, you have the information in front of you for that. Are there any further questions on this? No further questions? Then I would entertain a motion to move forward with the CUP for Meister Park Lift Station.
Alder Motive makes a motion to approve the CUP application for the Meister Lift Station.
Reed will seconds.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Motive and a second by Alder Reed to move forward with the CUP for Meister Park Lift Station. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next we have is to consider and take action to authorize the payment of the street sweeper repairs. You had this information from last meeting to carry forward. Brandon's not here tonight, but if there's no further questions on the action, on the invoice, we'll entertain a motion.
Alder Steiner can make a motion to approve the invoice for the Public Works street sweeper.
Alder Motive will second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Steiner to approve the payment for the street sweeper repairs and a second by Alder Motive. We need a roll call vote for that.
Gray,
Aye?
Motive,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Roki,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Misplaced my paper for the, I think it's this one right here. So consider and take action on the lease conditions for the Tower Drive property. The city has advertised for RFP for Tower Drive, including parcels 11211, 1114.1, 11211 to 1114.4. If the city intends or would like to preserve the opportunity to develop or build on these parcels in 2024, we must notify the existing leaseholders of our intentions prior to May 1st of 2023. In the event that the city does not approve a proposal to develop or build a project on these parcels, we could approach the parties later this year to offer a lease for 2024. So do we have a motion to take action on potential lease cancellations for the Tower Drive property?
I'll make a motion to terminate the current leases and provide notification of the cancellation.
Alder Steiner will second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Motive to take action on the lease cancellations and a second by Alder Steiner. And any discussion, further discussion? Alder Gray?
So that is the parcels that I have long considered the alternative for the Columbus Fire Department, since unfortunately James Street didn't work out to be the best location. So I do not feel the need to cancel those leases. I would still like to preserve that for the fire department.
Alder Finkler, do you have anything to add?
Have we looked into any further the environmental study on that? I know there's conversations of noxious weeds on that property. I was curious if anything more happened with that.
Are you aware of anything?
Related to the Tower Drive parcels, the noxious weed is a fairly common one in Wisconsin, and it's treated with glyphosate and 2,4-D. It's not in the tilled portion, we believe. It's down in the area that the city had intended to parcel off for likely flood storage areas. But again, this parcel not being a previously developed parcel is not really, an environmental study would typically be one that looks for evidence of petroleum contamination, things like that, something like done on the countryside parcel to, investigate the leaking underground storage tanks. They don't look for weeds and things like that during, like a phase 1 environmental assessment. So regardless of what's going to go there, we do have a published RFP based on the council's actions previously. And so regardless of what goes there, if we intend to do anything in 2024, we would need to cancel the leases now. Again, in the event we don't do anything next year, we can still release it to somebody. But if the intent is to not do anything in '24, the RFP's a little bit out of step with what we're advertising an RFP and now saying it's going to be 2025 before it's available. Not that we can't withdraw it, it just is a little bit out of step.
Right.
Thank you. I had a brief question on clarification. These leases are for gardens, correct?
One is for the garden, community garden, and we have already the pre-plan for that to move out to River Road. And then the other is for the dam farm, who has the lease for the cropland.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was trying to figure out the gardening problem. Okay, thank you.
I just have a quick question for Kyle. When are the responses due back for the RFPs?
I believe it's June 9th, so they had about 2 months to put something together, and then the process flows from there, but really, depending on the quantity and quality of responses we get, it can go as fast or as slow as the council wants it to go, and we can kind of dive off if there's really interesting proposals based on, what the council wants to do moving forward.
Okay, thanks.
Adam, okay. I was just going to ask if Alder Steiner wanted to make a comment, but Alder Reed.
Oh, thank you. And from looking at the packet, we would have the chance to reoffer the lease if it turns out that the land will be available, and we'd probably know in time for next year's planning season.
Yeah, I would anticipate as you get towards August this year, you're going to know. And the reason that was built in was the farm lease in particular did not want to invest in farm chemicals and fertilizers and things like that just to have it turned around and be gone. So they wanted that extra time frame. So I think they would still be interested. They're a long time lessee of the property, so I think they would still be interested.
Thank you.
Alder Roque, anything to add?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. So I forget who had the initial motion. You did. Okay. And then Adam, did you second it? Okay. So we have the motion by Alder Motif to cancel the leases and a second by Alder Steiner to cancel. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. We will now consider and take actions on the claims in the amount of $799,957.26.
Alder Rolke will move to pay claims in the amount of $799,957.26.
Reed will second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Rolke to pay the claims. We have a second by Alder Reed to pay the claims. We have a roll call vote on that.
Motif?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Rolke?
Aye.
Steiner?
Aye.
Binkler?
Aye.
Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, report of the officers. Kyle?
All right, thank you. Just a couple things with the weather warming up. I wanted to remind everyone of our seasonal positions that are available with the city. You can go right to our website, and on the left side, there's the employment link, and there's several positions there. In particular, I wanted to mention the public works positions. We're taking on additional mowing responsibility this year. So we do need several people to help us with the mowing and trimming and summer maintenance, even including up at the cemetery. So please check out the website or stop at City Hall if you'd like to pick up an employment application. Speaking of employment, we did fill the deputy clerk position, and Michelle Christensen will be starting tomorrow as our deputy clerk. So we're very excited to have her joining us, so Pat can sometimes relax. But yeah, you'll start seeing her tomorrow, and she's excited to join us, and we're happy to have her. So. The Folsom Street project continues to move along well. This week, the gas company was in there doing some work, but we already have the water and sanitary sewer mains complete. I think the storm sewer work is coming up, but the project has been going along very well. And then I wanted to thank everyone involved with the election, from the poll workers to the city clerk, Pat Gable, DPW staff that set up, the office staff that helped with the ballots and the registrations, issuing landscape stickers, and all the things that go into it, plus all those that came out to vote, because we had a really good turnout. So thank you to everyone that participated in the election and all the parts of it. And then the last shout out is for our new wayfinding signs that you might see around the community. They're looking really, really nice, and they were a long time in the making. It took a lot of effort to get that project completed. So thank you to the Tourism Commission, David Bennett, the DPW crew, and Brandon, and really everyone else that's been involved, because it has spanned several years getting that project finally put together, and with COVID and everything. So it's a nice addition to the community, and kind of welcomes people to the community and helps them find their way around to all our different sites that they can enjoy. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. First of all, I have thanks to Mary Arnold and to Shelley for their service to the city. Mary is having some fun, I hope, over in Budapest, I believe it was, that she was going to. And then Shelley, unfortunately, wasn't feeling well, so that's why she's not here tonight. But thank to both of them for their service to the city. Thanks to Amy Joe of the Rec Department for the successful Easter egg hunt. There was a huge turnout. What, you told me over 1,000 people were there? That's incredible. Fantastic. And then considering the short staff of our city crews, I want to thank them for their hard work with plowing and snow removal, especially that last storm, which was truly incredible. It's been a while since we've seen a snowfall like that. Best wishes to our library director, Lindsay Gantz, who is leaving to pursue a new career, which allows her to spend more time with her family. So thank you, Lindsay. The fire department breakfast coming up this Sunday, April 23rd, from 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So please come out and support the fire department. And that's a big fundraiser for them as well. So hope to see everybody there. With the incident in Barron County that has resulted in the deaths of 2 police officers, we as a community need to show our gratitude and support of our police officers. We are very fortunate to have a great, dedicated staff. I was informed by our city administrator and council president that the funds used to purchase the dingy property on Park Avenue were the ARPA funds. April is the month of military child. So, since 1986, the country has recognized the challenges and contributions of military children. School districts and organizations across the country will be celebrating military children. Although April 15th is designated as Purple Up Day, most schools celebrate April 19th, 2023. Purple is the color used to represent all military services. Wisconsin is home to 2,583 children of parents who are in the military. 1,727 of the children are school age 5 through 18 years of age. Every community in Wisconsin is home to military members and their children. Our military members include all branches of the services, active, guard, and reserve. So thank you very much to the military children, because that's a huge sacrifice. Okay, at the Wisconsin Rural Water Association Conference, our water utility won the award for best tasting water in Wisconsin. So congrats to Jake Tanner and Troy Kehoe for their dedication. I see Jake Tanner is in the audience there. So. And lastly, it is important that the community members keep themselves informed, and also important that we work as a community to provide a great atmosphere for all of our citizens. So reach out and help your neighbors with things. And with that, I thank you, and can we have a motion to adjourn?
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Alder Finkler will second.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Okay. Let's just take a short break. Be back at about 7:45. There we go. Quarter two, let us get started with this meeting. This is the Columbus Common Council Committee of the Whole agenda. So, Pat, would you take roll call?
Finkler,
Here.
Hammer,
Here.
Gray,
Present.
Motive,
Present.
Reed. Here. Rolke.
Here.
Steiner.
Aye.
And we had notice of open meeting for this. Pat? Yes, we have. Okay. May I entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
Alder Motive will make a motion to approve the agenda. Alder Finkler will second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Motive and a second by Alder Finkler to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we move on. Citizens' comments. We have Dennis, Police Chief Dennis. And this is about the drug take-back, correct?
And I wanted to add one more minor thing, if I could, after your comment in the last meeting. First of all, the Drug Take-Back Day is Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Prairie Ridge Health. It'll be in the drive-up. The main entrance will have some signs, some arrows. You can pull up, and we'll take your expired, unused, not needed drugs from you, and you can drive away. And if you can't make that, for years we've had a secure drop box at the police department in the lobby, which can be accessed 24/7. So hope to see you Saturday. I will be staffing it. Hopefully, who knows how the weather's going to be, as it's been here the last couple of weeks, but I'm looking forward to it. I get to see a lot of people on a level that I normally don't, so I'm looking forward to it. And on my second issue, if I may comment, thanks to the mayor's comment, on Saturday, Lieutenant Ward, Sergeant Rozecki, and I drove to Cameron to represent the Columbus Police Department and the citizens of Columbus in a marked squad car. So I appreciate very much your comments, and so do my staff. To see the hundreds and hundreds of police cars, and they estimated approximately 3,000 officers, all in one place, was very humbling. We also participated in the procession at the end of the ceremony, which stretched from Cameron, where it was held, which is where the department, one of the officers was from, to adjoining Chautauqua. And they don't adjoin each other very much. It's like 10 miles. So it was through Country Road, a heavily traveled country road that separated the communities, and especially in the communities, but also in the middle of nowhere. People were pulled over, waving flags, saluting, all those kinds of things. So to see that community support was very palpable and very impressive, and I know we have that level of support here in Columbus as well. So our department and the community was represented there, and we were honored to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. You good? And then we have Scott Hazeltine, our fire chief. He's got.
You're on.
Yep.
All right. All right. Evening, everybody. Mayor stole my thunder. Pancake breakfast this Sunday, 7 to 11:30. $10 to get in, 5 and under free. We did in the spring this year because one, we had the COVID, and then we didn't have many people wanting to do it in the fall. So we're trying it this spring to see how that goes over. Maybe in the fall we'll do a open house for Fire Prevention Week. So just one of the things I want to talk about quick is numbers are up at the fire department. Great bunch of people. They're taking outside training, making themselves better for all the citizens, and them considered their voice of the fire department. So one of the things they've been talking about is there's a question, because me and Kyle have talked about it, that the fire chief position, or the fire chief was full-time. We had one full-time position up to 2006. I moved there in 2004. And that person was let go, and we haven't had a full-time position in the fire department since that time. However, calls have increased, inspections have increased, and paperwork has tripled. So just something to think about. I know, it's tough times out there. There's more issues out there than there are funds to pay for it all, and, but something to think about looking down the road. And the other thing, we don't like to be involved in the news or chatting, but we see a lot of social media stuff going on, and people talking around town asking us questions about the fire department, or the new fire station. That's something we don't have anything to do with. We just do our job the best as our ability. I guess the only thing that we would ask is that, or myself would ask as a fire chief, is when things are being sold off, that I at least had some news about it. I'm finding out from citizens than I am from my peers. And if we have the transparency, I said, can't get any better if we don't talk and work together. So, and other than that, I think that's all I've got to say. So, like I said, if you're all welcome to come and visit the fire station anytime, give you a tour of the station and jump in the trucks and ask some more questions. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief Hazeltine. And then Ruth, you were just going to speak when it's brought up. Okay. All right, you have the department reports in front of you. Were there any questions for staff on any of the items that were in there? Molly, you good? All right. Do we have to accept those? No, that's only council. Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, Amy Jo, discussion of the MOU for CBO and CSA sponsor banners. Does anybody have any questions for Amy Jo regarding that? Pardon?
Hello, do we need to come up there, or is it self-explanatory?
I don't know. I didn't know if anybody had any further questions, just so that you're available if the questions are there.
Hello. So basically, the CSA would like to do some fundraising for the lights at Meister Park, and they're doing so by sponsorship banners from businesses in town and outside of the town, and they'd like to hang those banners on the fence. And basically, it's an understanding that they'll be responsible for hanging them, and they'll be responsible for taking them down. And same for the CBO, just so that there's some consistency at Kiwanis Park as well as Meister Park. Do you want to say anything?
Alder Gray?
Just a quick question more for you, Kyle. I thought that we paid for the lights at Meister Park, the city.
No, Meister Park does not have lights. They
Okay.
asked for permission to fundraise, but this would get more back to the, who's holding the funds, how long it's going to be held for, what do we, how do we know what's being done with the funds? Is pass-through accounting, that whole thing that the council had questions about a few weeks ago, if that's the issue, or if the city's holding these funds for a group, or exactly how this is going to work.
That was my question as well. I mean, are you a nonprofit who can legally fundraise?
There you go.
We are a nonprofit 50c3, so we are able to fundraise. As former Mayor Arnold mentioned at a former meeting, that we had a bowling tournament. It was the middle of March or so. At that one, we raised just under $4,000 to help with the lights. This is just another way to show community involvement, to enhance parks in the city, and showing that businesses around advertise and support local sports teams. So.
Yeah. Alder Reed, you had your light on. Okay, all right. Alder Steiner, anything? Alder Roki, anything?
How much money have you raised for the lights, and how much is the projected cost?
So this would be, projected cost is currently a variable, since we need to restart the process of getting quotes for the lights. So far, we have raised roughly that $4,000. We have with the banners is another fundraiser we're looking at, and then we are looking at a raffle fundraiser going through. Along with talking with former Mayor Arnold and Amy Jo, there are some grants that we can also apply for to try to get the lights out there. So last on the projected costs, again, it's a variable we have to redo. It was roughly about $28,000 for lights to be installed, and that was with the donation of all of the poles and the wiring through Water and Light.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have anything against this. It's slightly different than what Helen brought forward for the auditorium, but it's also a little unorthodox for a group to be selling space on banners on city property instead of the city to be doing it. But I do believe it's a good cause. I don't have anything really against it. It's just not traditional.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just got confused on something that Ian said, and I want this clarified. You will be holding the money, the city is not holding the money, correct?
Correct.
So there's no pass-through accounting this way?
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then, I mean, the city is going to benefit from this, because once the lights are there, you know, they're the property of the city and anybody can use them. So it's an outside organization that is doing the fundraising for specific project, so.
Correct.
So if there's no other questions, move it forward. All right, very good.
All right, thank you.
Move forward. Misplaced my agenda. Sorry.
It's probably the one until you guys post it.
Oh, you're right. And thank you. And then we will move on to item number 7, which is to discuss the task order for the Cardinal Drive cul-de-sac. And Kyle, do you have anything further for us?
Yeah, so this is a project that's come before the council before. The original discussion was for the city to really take over the whole project and potentially special assess it back. And for the design, bidding, and construction services and not the actual construction, we were looking at a cost exceeding $25,000 at that point. And the council declined to move forward at that point. It's kind of a unique situation. This is a remnant of a developer's project that when the floodplain maps changed, they had really had a temporary cul-de-sac in there that when the road extended to the east should have been removed. Floodplains changed. That's really not likely to happen in the near future. And the developer is really no longer in the picture.
Right.
But yet the homeowners have a temporary cul-de-sac on their property. On the second page of the memo, you can see kind of what we're asking the task order for. We don't feel that the aerial imagery from the county GIS matches up to what's actually constructed. The cul-de-sac should have been centered on the lots, according to the plat. But the county is showing it offset, and we see that in different areas of the city where the county shows, you know, a building that looks like it's half on another person's property, and it's actually just incorrect GIS information. So what the task order that we're looking for now is essentially going to allow a topographic survey and for Rupert Milkie to gather additional information that would allow us or the individual homeowners to plan the project, but does not have the cost of designing or construction management. So this would be a task order in the range of $3,000 that would really help move this project forward for somebody. And if the city moves this forward, these costs would be able to be special assessed back to the homeowners. And this would be required because until we know the ownership and the frontage, the engineer isn't able to assign responsible costs to the property owners.
Okay. Any discussion on this, Alder Steiner?
Kyle, Have you talked to all 4 owners that are supposed to be on this property? Do they all want this removed, or is it just the one owner that has majority of the cul-de-sac?
Well, right now, it's the one owner that has majority of the cul-de-sac. I believe the property just to the west of him also just sold and is planning to build. He wants it removed as well. The one issue is if the property lines aren't correct, we're going to either have him digging up property that's not his and belongs in the right-of-way, or we're going to be assigning project costs unfairly to him and not assigning it to any of the people on the other side. On the flip side of that, we may be unpleasantly surprising people who by rights should be participating in this by adding 2 property owners to the mix of who's responsible for this if it was actually built to the platted standard.
Alder Gray.
So I have ran across this exact issue throughout Columbus. Like, this is not a localized issue, the map overlay not lining up. This is an issue throughout the city. Would this $3,000 go toward realigning all of Columbus or only these 4 parcels?
This would be specific to really identifying those 4 parcels in relation to the right-of-way. And Jason, I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly, but really, we would be identifying the right-of-way in relation to each of those private parcels that adjoin it.
Yeah, pretty close. So our effort here would look at we would establish the property lines for the lots on both sides of the street. So we know exactly where the property lines are. We would also survey in the roadway, so we knew where the road was in the property lines. And my recommendation to staff was, we really can't make a lot of decisions until we know what the situation is, who it's impacting, how much we have to remove, how to move it forward. And so this is establishing that for this particular kind of area or street. So and we find with the mapping, Ian, throughout the city, there are areas where it is fairly accurate, and there's other areas where it's off as much as maybe 40 feet.
Yeah, it's considerably off in a lot of our cities.
And when we do find that, we tend to try and correct that with projects, with the county, when we have other information available. But in this particular case, it is just for this area.
Okay.
So would the property owner that really wants this to be done, if he simply went and had his property surveyed of where his actual property lines are, wouldn't that fix the issue? Wouldn't we know then where everything is supposed to be if he's paid that money to have his property surveyed?
I don't think that would establish the engineer would not be able to use that information to assign costs for a special assessment report. We would still need our engineer to then redo that for all of the parcels to attribute it by some sort of method that the engineer determined reasonable.
Right, but we're spending $3,000 to see where they are, and then we're going to later decide whether or not we want to move forward and spend more money and then reassess it. This is spending $3,000 that we may or may not ever recoup for an individual person that's requesting something.
That's a fair assessment. The other issue is that he's literally coming to the city and saying, can you please tell me where the right-of-way is? And I can't tell him where the right-of-way is. And, I think in this circumstance, this is a unique situation, and he's been trying for years to resolve this. And I think, this is not a situation that's going to recur over and over and over. We're not going to see this on every street. But I think it's reasonable in this instance for him to ask for some assistance in the city telling him where the right-of-way boundaries begin and end on the street side. There's also stormwater drainage that is impacting his property, and that's, coming off the public street. So certainly not something we have to do, but this would be the first step to an actual resolution of a problem that's existed for a while.
Right. Anybody else?
Thank you. Personally, I would be fine with helping him with the expense of finding the right-of-way. I feel like that's not just a one individual issue, but I really don't feel comfortable assessing the neighbors for thousands and thousands of dollars for a tiny corner of cement, it looks like. I would really want to send letters out to the adjoining properties before really going any further, just to find out where the different impacted property owners are.
Are any of the other property owners aware of this?
The directly adjacent property owner that's going to be building is aware of the situation and wants to help fix it with some of his equipment. He's a builder, has construction equipment, and we can't allow them to fix it because we don't know what's public right away and what's private, so we can't let them start tearing up the road on their own because we don't know what's ours and what's theirs.
Go ahead.
Is there room in the budget just for the city to pay for this? I mean, $3,000 is, overall, is not much. Not that I want to add more expense to our budget, but if we're going to prohibit somebody from being able to properly build, that's not good either.
So I think there would be room in the engineering budget for public works, and particularly if it does eventually get included in a special assessment that would be recouped at some level, whether it's 100% or not. That would be a combination of the engineer and the council determining that. To be clear, it won't prevent the homeowner from building. He can still build. It's just he's got this, part of his property is got this temporary cul-de-sac to be removed in the future that's kind of impacting his property to a small extent, and then the ultimate homeowner to a larger extent, especially with stormwater.
The person that's building, wouldn't he need to get surveyed and see exactly where his property lines are anyway?
We don't require surveys as part of the building process unless they're somehow unreasonably close to like a floodplain or something like that. Oftentimes they, look for property markers and stuff like that. And
Right, or unreasonably close to an unknown cul-de-sac that may or may not be on their property?
The building inspector does not require a survey. Unless there, again, would be like a floodplain issue where they want to make sure they're not building in the floodplain. And we don't, because it's a temporary cul-de-sac, that does not make it a road. We don't plow it. The police department does not issue parking tickets when they park there during snow emergencies because that's not a road. I don't think that requiring a survey of this homeowner in this instance would be the building inspector's requirement.
I don't know. It is a nominal amount. My problem is kind of along the lines that Alder Reed brought up. Like, we're going to spend $3,000 to adjust things, and then we may or may not move forward with actually doing something because we don't want to assess homeowners that have zero desire to do this, and it will be thousands of dollars of assessment. We aren't talking pennies to remove all of this. So those other two homeowners that may not want this to happen, we could assess them 10 grand plus, a couple more, another $1,000 for this 3,000 that we're doing. And I agree with Alder Reed. We should contact all of them involved before we spend the 3,000 or do anything. If this one homeowner really wants it, he could survey and find out exactly where his lot lines are. The person building, if they're really concerned, they could survey and find out where their lot lines are. I don't think it's something that the city should do and then reassess without knowing whether or not those other two want it done. Because this 3,000 leads to 25, 30, 40,000.
Has anybody from the city gone out to see what, if the property stakes are in place or?
I know it's been looked at in the past several years. I don't think in the past couple years anyone's gone out there. There's been excavation in that area. I know especially towards the end, towards the farm field, there's been a lot of attempts at some drainage improvement, and there's also been some excavation to remove some debris that was there. So I don't know what's there or not anymore, but I don't believe in the past they've been successful in locating those.
Because I remember a few years ago, Steve Roberts was looking at that one piece, which I don't even think was an actual lot, at the time he was looking at making it an actual lot, if I recall.
The one right, straight at the end?
Yeah, right at the end over on the south side of it. And I would have thought that there would have, on that side, there would have been a lot stake available, but I don't know.
I would just say that I agree with Alder Reed and Alder Gray that we should probably contact everyone to make sure that we're doing something worthwhile. If we spend $3,000 on something and say 2 of them want to do this and 2 of them don't, they're going to be splitting a bill that can be rather high. They could do it themselves for a much lower cost. And I don't think they want a special assessment on their house that's going to reach at least $50,000. Once you tear into that, you're going to start fixing everything that's there, more likely than anything. So it's going to get up there just with engineering costs itself. I would really say we should just contacting everyone that could be affected and saying, is this something we should really look into for everyone as opposed to just the one resident? I'd like to help them out, but we have to do this practically as well.
Alder Motive?
I don't disagree with that, as long as we're not holding up construction, which you confirmed or not. I do think we need to contact the other homeowners as well.
Yeah, and like Alder Steiner mentioned, this is something, so this isn't something the city currently claims as our property. We don't plow it, we don't do anything with it. If the homeowners all wanted it gone, it would be less expensive for them to decide to do it themselves than for the city to step in and do this.
We're preventing them from taking any action because we don't know what's in the right of way, so we're not allowing them to
Right.
rip up the asphalt
But
and
if they
curb.
each spent a nominal amount of money to actually get their properties surveyed properly, then we would know where the right-of-way is. And it would cost probably $10,000, $20,000 less for them to do it than for us to do it and assess them. It's just not logical, that's where I stand on it. But yes, definitely reach out at
Right.
least first.
Okay, that seems to be the overall consensus, so just table this item until we get any further information back. All right. And next on the agenda is to discuss the CHLPC Summer Concert Series. So Ruth?
No. There you go. You're on.
I'm on, okay. Okay, so once again, we're happy to announce that we'd like your permission to have this summer concert series at the Columbus Park. And the proceeds that we raise would be going to the Rest Haven project. And we're looking for sponsors. The cost of the program will be higher this year because the bands are demanding more, and we're hoping to give free food to kids under 10 or something like that. We're trying to make it more that we get more people out. We're hoping to have some openers that before the main band would start for about a half hour, we'd have some local little groups, something like that, to attract, get them out to enjoy it. This year, we were contacted by Wanakee Big Band and the Mad City Jug Band. We've had 930 Standard before, and so the Wanakee Big Band, I believe, has 18 members, and the Mad City Jug Band is kind of what it is. It's kind of that ragtime, they make their instruments, things like that. So we were happy that they reached out to us. And let me think. We changed it out for the day a little bit. Instead of Thursdays, we started the concerts, the whole thing, a little sooner. So this year it will be on Wednesday nights, thinking that we could hit a night that's not so busy. People aren't taking off for the weekend. Last year we had the last one, football practice had started, things like that, and the attendance, the weather wasn't great, but we thought the attendance could be better. So people kind of gave us some feedback, and we honored that. And okay, and then CDDC is again partnering with us for the insurance and things like that. And I've had assurance from them. So we're looking for your permission. Does anybody have any questions? And of course, if it's rainy weather, the pavilion is all set up for inside. So hope to see you there.
So Wanakee Big Band, that is like the 40s style big band?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, 18 piece. So it's
I love
it's
big
gonna
band
rock.
music, so.
The park is gonna rock.
All right. Okay, any discussion? Move this forward. All right, fantastic. Okay, item 9, discuss 4th of July street closing request. And is there any further discussion on this from? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Nobody had any issues with it, so we're good to move that forward if no discussion, further discussion? All right. Okay, then we move on to item number 10, which is to discuss the 4th of July agreement. And you have the information in front of you. Al, you would like to speak on behalf of this, by all means.
Alan Stroshine, 620 Park Avenue, speaking on behalf of the Columbus 4th of July Celebration Committee. I wish to apologize to council members. I am going to pass out now. One of the items did not make the committee of the whole packet. I don't know why not, but it didn't make it. So this is what I'm going to pass out directly is covered by the memo of covered by the memo which Amy Jo Myers, as rec director, had in the packet. So you had half of a whole.
Thank you, Al. Yes. Thank you. You're welcome.
I just became aware that this document was not in the packet, so if you just bear with me for a second. The memo that Amy Jo prepared reflects 4 items that she and I collaborated along with City Attorney Johnson to put this together. I don't want to beat a dead horse and go on. I'd like to proactively get this signed because we're only a little over 2 months away from the 4th of July, and there's a lot of planning that's already occurred. We have another meeting the first Monday night in May, and it would be nice to have this signed that I could present it to our president, Tory Whiteman, so he would be able to sign it. I don't know if Amy Jo wishes to speak about her memo. There were a couple of items. I briefly talked to City Administrator Ellefson on late last week about this. I don't know if he wishes to address the issue as well.
Hi, Al.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello. I'm just going to give a little history of how this all started with the contract. I don't know if some of you are familiar or not. Long ago, back in the day, the 4th of July committee actually used the park free of charge from the city. The Recreation Committee brought forward to council and asked that we create a separate agreement. They, step back 5 seconds, I'm sorry. They filled out a pavilion rental contract with no fee to them for using the park. The Rec Committee had thought that they should be paying a fee, so we created the park rental agreement, which is in front of you tonight. That was what was started in 2016. It was started out at a small fee of $500 for the entire park, changed to $1,000, and then $1,500 with the cost of the utilities. Last year, the previous DPW director, the park rental agreement went away, and they created an MOU, which is also in front of you, that was last year's. Now it's back into the Recreation Department hand, and what Attorney Johnson did was took the MOU, the park rental agreement, and kind of put them together. And that's what you have in front of you tonight. So that's why there's so many changes in contracts. So this is the one agreement that we have for 2023. Okay? I had suggested or asked that we have 2 changes to that contract, and that was just simply to make the contracts consistent with other contracts that we have. Stating that the deposit accompanies the contract when you put that money down, and that the rental payment is 60 days before the due date, before the concert. 4th of July committee, excuse me. So that makes consistency. And then Al, the 4th of July committee had a couple of requests as well.
So the question came up, where's my, can I move your glasses?
Of course you can.
We had questions regarding the use of the park between midnight and 6 a.m. when we're not permitted to be in the park, and we wanted to include some language which is highlighted in paragraph 11 of the agreement. And in paragraph 14, I went back and forth with City Attorney Johnson regarding the cost. We've all gone through COVID. It was a highly unusual event, not in our lifetimes have we seen it before, where the whole concert, I use concert too, the whole event was canceled, and there are some non-refundable costs, and I put in the agreement a 50-50 reimbursement there. I must say, City Administrator Ellefson brought up the point when I talked to him on Friday. He said, well, if we got 50% of the profits, then we'd be likely to agree to 50% of the cost. That's a logical assumption. And he also brought up the very good point that it's time to have a longer-term agreement, because we've had this in place for many, many, many years. The organization's now in its 51st year. I pledged to work with the city attorney, the city administrator, and especially Amy Jo, who's been very helpful to us, to make this a long-term commitment. I have sat here through the meeting tonight, the meetings tonight, and I have comments that I would be addressing on other issues that have already passed on the agenda that I think I can offer some comment to. And one of them would be to Teddy Decker to say, we have a Columbus area endowment that's going to be giving grants out this year, and as a 501c3, they would be entitled to make a grant request for lights for Meister Park. So, and maybe a matching grant or something like that. So there's collaboration that needs to go on here. But I'm putting this before you. I know it can't be voted on tonight, but hopefully at the May 2nd is your next meeting? It could be handled at that time. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any
questions?
Questions for Al or Amy Jo while they are up there? Alder.
I don't have a question for them. I would just like to help clarify everything for the council members, especially if Alder Finkler, since she wasn't a part of this before. Attorney Johnson, is my assumption correct that what Al provided us is simply an old agreement that is no longer in front of us?
I believe what Al provided you is what the 4th of July committee would like the new agreement to say.
Okay.
I think that is what I am taking from that. Yes, there are, I think, 3 areas of new language from what you last saw last year. Well, actually, this entire agreement is something you've never seen before, is my recollection. But those were, the items that he has highlighted are the areas that were quote-unquote
I'd just like to point out
Oh,
one
yeah,
small
Alder
thing.
Motive, yeah.
Paragraph 3, we're in 2023, not 2022.
Oh, there's.
May I add a little bit to what Al and Amy Jo have said?
Absolutely.
So the agreement that's in front of you started out last fall, I believe, when Amy Jo asked me to do as she indicated before, which was take these regular pavilion rental agreement and the memorandum of understanding for the last year's 4th of July committee agreement and put those two documents together in order to make them more consistent so that the 4th of July agreement would be somewhat more consistent with the pavilion rental agreement, and we would have one form instead of a separate agreement just for the 4th of July organization. So that is where this started. That document went through a lot of drafts between me and Amy Jo, between me and then DPW Jerry Lentz, and that is where it stopped. And then all of a sudden, in January of 2023, it kind of resurrected itself again. And now, and then Attorney Stroschein, or Al, however you want to be called at this particular moment, got involved, and he and I went around on a few issues. None of this has ever come to the council for review or discussion or anything. So what Al just handed out is a document that I don't think you've ever seen officially.
Correct.
Is a modification from last year's MOU with the 4th of July committee that is pretty much consistent, but paragraph 11, 14 were the two paragraphs that Al was just referring to, and paragraph 1 and 2 were the changes that Amy Jo was referring to. So this is something that you haven't had a chance to digest. But it's not totally far off from what you approved last year. I think that's a safe thing to say.
The confusion, folks, is that what I just passed out was supposed to be in the packet that would have been referred to by Amy Jo's memo. So if you take Amy Jo's memo and what I just passed out and look at those two documents, Attorney Johnson is spot on.
Yeah, I think they were highlighted, weren't they?
And yes, 2022 needs to be updated.
Thank you.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, thank you.
So are we looking to do an MOU or a rental agreement?
Park rental agreement, I believe.
I believe the organization and the Park and Rec director would prefer to try to call this a rental agreement for the weekend. That the facility is being rented.
All the facilities within the park, the open shelters, the venues, pavilion, that's what it had been in the past.
Okay, so the rental agreement, do you have a copy of the rental agreement that he gave out? Is that what we're supposed to be looking at then, or?
Yes.
What is in your packet is the last
MOU.
year's MOU.
Yes.
And then compare and contrast with what Al handed out. I think that's the quickest way to get to where you need to be today.
Well, I mean, what Al handed out is basically what we agreed to last year, it looks like.
Yes, yes, because.
Like, what he handed out is more similar to what I remember than what's in my packet. Like, I'm confused on what I'm supposed to be looking at now.
Right, you're supposed to be looking at what Al handed out, because that is the proposed new agreement.
They took the MOU that Jerry had created last year, the previous park rental agreement, because they're renting all the shelters, and they made it into one.
Okay.
Okay.
And they're very similar, except that we added 1 and 2 to be consistent to other contracts. And then 11 and 14 are for discussion tonight. 11 is, I believe, is who's responsible from midnight until 6 in the morning, and then the 50%.
And the 50% was back and forth with Attorney Johnson and I as a compromise.
Can I ask a question on 11?
Yes, yes.
So I don't remember the outcome of last year. There was a lot of talk about liability with having your contracted workers, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what to properly call them, but the contractors who are coming in to put on the fair, they stay there on the property all night long, 24/7 while it's rented. And so the discussion last year was, does that hold the committee to liability if something happens with the restrooms or something else on the property between that hour of midnight and 6 a.m.? Kyle, can you refresh where?
It's also that the restrooms and things will remain unlocked and they would normally be locked.
Right.
And that is paragraph 11 of the agreement that's in your packet.
Right.
That is how that ended last year,
That is how it ended last year?
with
Right.
the organization being responsible for any damage that occurred due to the carnival workers, is the phrase we were using last year.
But the new agreement is saying that they are not.
Excludes them from midnight to 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a market change from what you had last year.
Alder Reed, you had a
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was also, yeah, I have it on.
Yeah, you're right.
It was also on number 11, besides the responsibility from midnight to 6, do we need to have a sentence on renter will, close all, will be responsible for closing, locking all buildings except for the bathrooms by the dugouts? Just for adding in do we still want that expectation from last year?
That is missing.
Alder Steiner, you had.
Yeah, I had a question. It says here that some of the facilities that you can be using, and one is the scout cabin. The scouts use that pretty regularly. Is that going to interfere with anything that they have going on throughout the week of 4th of July? Because I'm pretty sure they still hold, the Cub Scouts hold meetings and the Boy Scouts hold meetings every Monday. And you guys rent it for a good 3-4 days, whatever it is. If you guys are utilizing that facility, is that going to interfere with what they have in contract with the city at all in their use of that particular building?
I'm going to step in and say no, only because I do know that the Boy Scouts volunteer with the 4th of July committee, that every night they pick up garbage. And there's never been an issue in the past for they're overlapping.
I will say that we have a deal with the 4th of July committee has a deal with the Boy Scouts, and they pick up at the end of the festival. They walk the entire grounds for several hours to pick up the debris that's left. Last year it was okay because there weren't any fireworks, so it gets pretty nasty out there when there's fireworks and people leave their garbage behind. But
So is the Boy Scout cabin used at all for anything?
It's not
Or
used
is it just
by-
because it's in the park?
It's
that
because it's in the park.
Okay.
And I suppose there could be damage done to it during the hours of 12 to 6,
Mayor?
Yeah, it should be locked. Good point, good point.
Okay,
but we
Alder
don't
Motive,
use
you
it.
got another?
I don't have a question, I have a recommendation. There are a lot of questions I'm hearing on this. We are just seeing this for the first time. I'm asking that this gets tabled so that everybody can ask all their questions and do their research.
That's a wonderful idea.
My only problem with that is if we table it to the next cow, that's May 2nd, then the next, it's not going to get approved in time. We don't have time to table it. This is something we have to work through tonight so it can get to the next regular meeting.
May I say something, whether it's warranted or not? For the 12 years that I've been doing this contract with 4th of July Committee, working with them, there hasn't been issues for any vandalism. Everything is handled well. There may be a broken window here and there, and that's the reason for the deposit. We take from that deposit to repair the cost. I mentioned before that if someone has a 3-day rental at the pavilion, from when they leave to when they come back in the morning, they're not responsible. Granted, they're not staying in the park, right? That's a little bit different, but I'm just saying, I've never seen any issues. So I'm just throwing that out there.
And frankly, the people that are in the carnival have some $150,000 motor homes. And they have, if you walk through the park, you'll see they have flowers set up. They have they take good care of their carnival. We've been fortunate with the carnival that's been in the park. There's no perfect solution.
I personally have no issue with item 11, mainly because of what this celebration brings into our town economically. It isn't just our civic organizations and the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts that benefit from this. It is also our businesses that benefit from that. Our grocery store would take a hit. Culver's and Columbus Family Restaurant and all the other restaurants that are out in that area would take a hit because on 4th of July, that day, they are swamped. Again, I don't have an issue with number 11 being stated as it is, but if it's a matter of that we just go and lock up all the bathrooms, because there are a ton of porta potties out there, then so be it, because most of those, the carnies with their what they have, they're able to use the bathrooms and the showers and all that in their own facilities, so.
Alder Reed was before me.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely do not feel the need to try to make this discussion go on. I think what we were handed was really fine. My only tiny question is if we want to have one little blurb about locking most of the buildings. But otherwise, I think it's great.
Okay, Alder Gray.
I'm kind of in line with what you said and what Alder Reed is saying. I mean, they do have very nice facilities of their own. Wouldn't it be prudent for us to just ensure that all facilities are locked and then there is no need for the overnight contract? Like, let's just make it a moot point so that there is no disagreement between item number 11 and just not allow overnight them to utilize our facilities overnight. If they're locked, they're locked, and then we're kind of done. If that makes sense.
So that would be paragraph 11 then,
Yeah.
Alderman Gray, Alder Gray?
Right, yeah.
Paragraph-
We just
say
include that all facilities will be locked and they can be unlocked or reopened at 6 a.m.
It would be the
From-
4th of July
from-
committee's responsibility.
Right.
From midnight?
From
to 6
midnight till 6 in the morning.
Yeah, as long as all facilities are locked, any locked facility between midnight and 6 a.m. will not be the responsibility. However, the attorneys want to write it. But basically, as long as it does get locked. Now, if it's unlocked, I still think that should be their responsibility. If for some reason they don't lock it, that is not the city's fault. The city doesn't need to be paying someone to go around and locking all the buildings and making sure they're doing it. If it for some reason happens, they don't unlock it, that's on them. But it should be locked.
And I'll
they
provide it
just-
with all the keys.
Yep, exactly. I think that's the easiest compromise, then there shouldn't be any contention on that, I would think.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. As far as item number 14 goes, I am personally not on board with that. I don't like the compromise. I don't believe the city should be.
So if we took out the last sentence, Alder Gray, would that meet your approval? The last sentence of that paragraph?
Yep, I think so. For me, I'm not the decision maker. I'm just saying my opinion, so.
Does anybody else have a question or statement regarding item 14? Okay.
In regards to item 14, if the city canceled the event and the 4th of July committee felt they had a claim against the city, they could file a claim and we could actually go to our insurance company and we would have insurance coverage that may cover damages if the insurance company felt we had liability there. if we by contract agree to pay something, insurance is not going to cover that. So in the event something odd would happen, it would almost be more beneficial to the city to go the insurance route than to just pay up directly.
Is that acceptable, Al?
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. We'll take out that last sentence.
So remove last, okay.
So as I understand it, if we take out the last sentence of paragraph 14 and add a sentence that if the July 4th committee locks facilities from midnight to 6 a.m., they would not be responsible for that. And if they don't, they're responsible.
Right, I think that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it could pass through on the May 2nd agenda to be approved at the council. Thank you.
Ta-da!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we're good moving this forward then, with those changes made. Okay, next item is to discuss the Field Services Director position. And I think most of everything that's on here, I think is just coming up with the correct, well, yeah, the correct title or whatever. Talking with Alder Gray and City Administrator Ellefson, us three kind of agree with the Municipal Services Director, but if anybody else, so Alder.
Oh, thank you.
Reed?
I like Superintendent of Public Works and Utilities. Just kind of putting it all out there.
When the Utility Commission was looking into this, we were told that it would bring in a different kind of applicant within that industry, if we call it superintendent, and that we're better off to call it something else. I mean, I'm fine with Municipal Services Director, but it'll bring in a higher level of applicants. I know.
With the word director instead?
Yeah.
Okay, then I like Director of Public Works and Utilities.
So the second one, similar to the second one? Alder Roki?
I guess for me, the slash with Public Works / Utility Director lends a little more confusion than just saying Municipal Services Director. So that's the one that stands out to me as the best option.
And Alder Steiner?
I agree with the Municipal Services Director. I think it keeps a broad generalization of the entire city's works department and power and water, as opposed to a specific public works or specific utilities.
Having worked for the utility as long as what I had, if I were looking for a job, the Municipal Services Director would entice me more than the other titles that are on there. Personal opinion, but that's just from the years of that experience.
I think your opinion on that outweighs most.
So, well, I mean, but it might not be the right one, but.
It's more knowledgeable to find. So.
I do support the Municipal Services Director title. I think that that's very encompassing.
Okay. Was there any other further discussion on any of the other position description? I mean, it entails a lot. So, all right. So we're good moving this forward with making it the Municipal Services Director.
Yes.
All right.
My only other thing that I was speaking with the mayor and our administrator with earlier is I think it might be prudent to also advertise for the utility director and the public works director at the same time, because we may get different applicants for each job, and we don't know what applicant we're going to get for any individual job. And they might transfer over into the other jobs, they might not, but if we advertise for all of the positions, we're just increasing the scope and the amount of potential applicants, in my opinion. It's what we would typically have done in the private sector back in the day when I was in management in the private sector. It's just, it increases your odds. So personally, I would like to advertise for all of the Municipal Services Director, the Public Works Director, and the Utility Director. Because there's a good chance that someone that's only looking at a utility director job, you know, they're laser sighted, focused on that. They might work for the municipal services director, but they might not apply to it if we don't advertise for the utility director.
I agree.
Okay, Alderman.
I disagree, because I think if we're gonna advertise for just DPW or just a utility director, we're gonna get more people with just those skills. And we need skills that are going to encompass the whole thing. They're administrator skills. There's somebody who knows how to do public relations, who knows how to work with the PSC. And that's almost a unique set of skills in its own right.
There are other municipalities out there that have a director or manager of the utilities plus the DPWs, and they make it work. I mean, if you were to go Alder Gray's route, you would have to then have whatever a package would be available for all three positions. So there's a lot of logistics to work out in that.
But don't we already have those available? We've advertised for them already.
But we've made changes to, I mean, the field director, the
You wanna
municipal services director.
turn your-
Oh. The municipal service director just has other skills built into it. I think we would be better off just to be very strategic as to where we advertise for the position.
Alder Steiner.
I agree with Alder Motive that it would be better to have a more specific focus of what we're looking for. If we look for both a DPW director, which is more engineering, or a utilities director, which is more focused on what utilities do, and you all of a sudden, well, we're going to put you into this position, they may not have the qualifications for that position. They may have the qualification for one or the other. We should be focused on just this one position because we want an overall administrator and supervisor for everything that can handle not just the engineering aspect of the city, but also the utilities as well.
We have our department heads who are fantastic at their jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones who are going to have the skills in the specific areas to make the recommendations to the new director. And that's why I don't think we want to do somebody with specific on either side. Does that make sense?
Alder Finkler.
Yeah, and I would agree, we don't want to be more specific on either side, just for the fact that merging these two positions together is going to bring more work for those below them, as it is, and to add even more on top of that, I just think is just too much.
Alder Reed.
Oh, thank you. I'm still leaning in Gray's direction this time of trying to have many lures out at the same time to bring in the best catch.
Personal opinion, when we advertised for a lineman at the utility, we did lineman / apprentice, hoping out of that field to get the best of what you can get. There again, yes, it's a different, it's a different pay scale. The compensation is for the total package is roughly the same, but you're paying a lineman's wage versus an apprentice wage. My personal opinion is I think that we put it out as a one position thing and focus entirely on that one position. And then you also beef up your departments to match that also, so. Alder Finkler?
I already
Oh,
said-
I didn't know if
yeah.
you had something more
Nope.
to say.
Oh,
Here.
jeez.
That's fine. Alder Gray.
Yeah, my only thought in that is that a lot of the people are going to have a stronger background in one or the other, and they may be specifically searching for one or the other, and they might not find the municipal services director when they're looking for a job. The other thing is that our Public Works Department is understaffed, and we are going to need someone to still lead the rest of them underneath this person. So potentially someone that would apply for a Public Works Director might be a good fit for the new lead position that we're going to have to create in the Public Works to lead them below the director. It's going this new route, and plus, maybe we don't find the perfect overall candidate, and if we have all three out, we might find a great utility director and a great Public Works Director and decide to go back to the way that we had things before. It might make the most sense if we can't find the perfect overall, if we might end up finding the great candidate for each department. But we don't do that if we only advertise for one. I just don't understand the harm in advertising for all three. There's zero, I don't understand the downfall of trying.
So we had talked, you are correct, the DPW does need somebody to lead it. They need a new department head. And we had talked about recreating that position so that it could report to this municipal services director. I don't disagree with creating that job description and putting it out there, but it's a different position than what we've had, and we need to get that job description approved first.
I mean, you had, in the past, you had gone out for a superintendent or manager for utility. It's been a struggle to get DPW. You're more at a point with that position at the DPW. If you get the municipal services director, you would be then probably looking for a street superintendent, which would oversee the daily operations.
Exactly, and that's
that
what
type
we
of person.
had talked about previously, Joe, was redoing that street superintendent.
But I think, my personal feeling is I think you need to focus on the one position of the overall municipal services director covering DPW and the utilities. But it's up to council how you want to move it forward. So, Alder Steiner.
I would rather cast a line than a wide net, personally. So we have a very clear focus of what we're looking for. If it doesn't work, we can renegotiate casting a wider net, but we want someone very specific. You're never going to find the perfect position, but we want someone with very specific skills. And I think casting a line is going to be a little bit easier, getting that one fish as opposed to all of them and trying to just pick the best one.
Any other further comments? We could move this forward as one position. All right. And then we come on to the CHLPC ordinance. So, Ruth?
And I have other members here that will be speaking to. Again, I'm Ruth Hermanson. I'm chair of CHLPC. And things I've talked about tonight are fun. This is the tough business. The ordinances. This is a stack of what we've done, and I have backup on this, since before February 13, 2020, okay? February 13, 2020, Joe DeRose came out, and we met at Public Works, the garage, along with City Council, and we went through different things, analyzing our ordinances. What sparked that was trying to preserve and protect landmarks in Columbus. Our ordinances protect our landmarks, has a process of how we get from A to B to eventually C. CHLPC stands for Columbus Historic Landmarks and Preservation. We are commissioned to do that. So that's what we're commissioned to do. We take that very seriously. We have a long history. what this boils down to is protecting our landmarks. I have one suggestion, that if a property or a neighborhood is already designated on the national and state recognized historic property, could we consider doing an automatic, or at least go through the steps, but start with those to make it automatically pass through to our local landmarks? Because they've already met a very strict criteria to make it national and state recognized. In the past, HLPC had the process in place to make something a local landmark.
You got it turned off.
I think he's turning her on, or not. There.
There you go.
I'll just keep talking, not to. In the past, HLPC had the process in place to make something a local landmark, or like I said, a citizen could do that as well. This process kept it out of the politics and didn't suffer the efforts of being politically minded instead of versus preservation and purpose. So that's a real key here. As preservationists, that's our sole commission. That's our sole responsibility. And what's going to happen now is in the new ordinances, all that responsibility is shifting over to the city council. Back in February 13th of 2020, it was duly noted that city council members come and go, and they can be based on politics, like what's behind what the future's going to hold for Columbus. Where we're a little more, we're definitely more conservative on preserving the past. Now, we have a process in place to go through the steps to make something a landmark, to protect that. And we know that that process can be vetoed, and all we're going to end up with is a little landmark, a sign on the sidewalk saying, once here stood that. But the process sort of protects that so that somebody can't just come in and tear it down easily. The city council and citizens could appeal our decision and ultimately ruled, but it was a more protective process. Now, once something is already protected, there was a process for rescission, so something could be taken off the local landmarks. And local landmarks designated historic neighborhoods would be all protected. But it could change because things do change. It was suggested that the city council should lead by example, or the city itself, by making their public buildings local landmarks. Now, some of this was already done, but where we failed, we didn't register them at Columbia County, and so it's not on the deed. So some of these, I think there's 5 or 6 already local landmarks, but they're not registered. So now we can either A, start the process all over, or we can pick up where it was left off and get them registered. Enforcement, that's covered. Before we were criticized because we weren't enforcing it. Well, it wasn't our duty to enforce it. We could call something out, but we needed the building inspector process, which we've beat that all up. So we're here now, and we've had a subcommittee. We've made recommendations to you. The biggest change is, in the new ordinance, you guys are more the gatekeepers, okay? We have a process we'll go through, we'll make a recommendation to you, and you'll have the ultimate say in making something a local landmark or a historic neighborhood a local landmark. We already have like 5 historic neighborhoods in the city of Columbus They are not local landmarks. So our certificate of appropriateness, these COAs that people used to come and say, listen, I want to put this sign up downtown, or this is what my feel for the building here, or a person in a historic house, they would come to us and was open, and we educated them. They brought their concerns, and we found a happy medium, and we kept it up. For the last year, because of law changes, things like that, our local landmarks have not been enforceable. So we were told just to stand by, create the new ordinances, make these changes, which hence brings us here tonight. So duly noted, it's 2023. This weighs a lot. There's a lot behind the new ordinances. So we're reaching out with an olive branch to you to get this ordinance done. And but I do want you to review it closely. We don't have to rush. My biggest concern is somehow, even if we just amend the existing ordinances to help us with the local landmark section so we can enforce that and have a COA. But we've worked hard. We have a great subcommittee on this, and we're here for discussion, questions, but that's kind of the short history of it all.
Okay. Alder Steiner, you had some.
Oh, I didn't turn it on.
Oh, okay. I know it's a lot to read. And so Alder
Molly was
Finkler?
first. Oh, yeah. I just have a question. I'm still trying to dig through everything and figure out everything, but has this draft ordinance gone to the committee that we have that reviews it first?
Sort of. Can I give the answer on that?
Yes.
We had an ordinance committee that had started to work on this together with the CHLPC. For some reason, the committee did not meet for quite a while, and the CHLPC went and wrote this themselves. And I have quite a long list of things that I'd like to go through because I don't believe it meets all of the agreed upon things that we were talking about when the old ordinance committee was meeting with you.
And just to clarify that, in September of 2022, we were, it's in our minutes, they did tell us to go ahead and work on these ordinances. And that's why we went ahead and got started, because we couldn't enforce our COAs. So we acted within orders from the mayor and our liaison and Kyle.
I know there's you have a lot of questions. We do have another item that may take a while. Is this something, it's not, I mean, I don't think we want to work on this. I don't know if we're in a huge rush to.
No, I was going to say, I don't have a problem tabling this and coming back, but I do have a long list of questions. I don't believe this is ready to be moved forward at all.
Then that's the thing, we have to go through these questions, that's where we're supposed to be. What the history of who did what and who says what is really irrelevant. I'm sorry. We need to just get through this ordinance so that we can actually move forward. So like Alder Motive has a bunch of questions, comments, or possible changes. I think that's where we need to go. That's kind of the point of the committee of the whole, is to get through these things and move forward. So
But I think what
Alder
Mayor's
Motive should start going through
recommending
things.
is that we table it for the sake of time tonight.
Yes.
And I'm fine with that.
And I would just request, Sarah, if it's possible, we have a meeting next week. If we could get a list of your concerns and questions, and then we can begin to be thinking of that, make any changes. Like I said, it's really an olive branch. We have to work together, and we want to get this done, or at least some of it done. And that if, or if you want to meet with the subcommittee again, or we bring our subcommittee, we get together and meet, it'd be nice to get a date on the table. It doesn't have to be tonight, but maybe before our meeting next week, we could have a time frame.
I've always said I'm happy to meet with you and talk.
Okay.
I've made, I think, that very clear.
Yeah.
But with my work schedule, I can't guarantee it's going to be before next week.
And that's just fine. I was just hoping to set a date, by next week, even if it's a month from now, at least we got something on the table. Like I said, we've worked very hard on this, and even if we just pull out the COA section and, the city attorney, Kyle, you guys, and then we'd have something to present, even if we do it in little pieces. Look at my stack. It is overwhelming. It's a lot of work. So it's not going to be short and sweet.
So Alder Reed, you had.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I would just like to recommend for us to make a special session cow on this. I mean, I think it'll easily take us 2 hours to go over everything, and it'll be really difficult to do justice to this item within the confines of a regular meeting.
And it was suggested that possibly Jason Tisch, the state historical specialist on this, he would love to come out and join that meeting. And, but it's always best to be prepped. So if, Sarah or anyone else read it over, have some questions, please send them on to us and we can begin. So we're like, we understand what's needed, bring the backup or make the change and get it done. Katie or anyone else have any other comments?
Okay.
I mean, I just want to reiterate, this is in everyone's best interest to actually start getting this done. So if you're like Sarah and you have a bunch of points that you already have, you should forward it to the CHLPC, or it does need to start happening. In reality, the ordinance that is before us does give a lot more control back to the council than what is currently had in existing ordinance. The reality is, if we don't do this new ordinance, the old one does still exist. The CHLPC is well within their rights to do everything on their own by existing ordinance, which is, they basically have carte blanche to do pretty much anything on historic residences in our current ordinance. So if we don't do this, they can just go back to that. That is existing ordinance that they can utilize. This is something that needs to actually happen. We can't just keep tabling it for every meeting and decide that we don't want to deal with it because it's too much work.
I don't think it's that we don't want to deal with it. If we're going to do this, we want to make sure we're doing it right. And, and that's getting questions answered. So,
That's the purpose of the committee of the whole, is to get questions answered and to ask questions, and that's why it is on our agenda.
And I'm recommending that we table it to the May 2nd, and if we have to go into a special cow to address that, then we do that. And the only reason I'm saying table it is because we got something that needs to be addressed also tonight. And so there is a question from.
If I could say just one thing for clarity, I was on the subcommittee for this ordinance review. Alder Motive, you mentioned that we wrote the ordinance. We did not write this ordinance. My understanding of what was given to us was a proposed ordinance by Attorney Johnson. We took Jason Tisch's recommendations to make sure that we keep our status as a certified local government. And we took some pieces from the current ordinance and added them back in. So it's not as though we started from scratch and just came up with an ordinance.
No, I realize that. I was also part of the ordinance ad hoc committee, so I went through all that as well. But I do think there's some things missing from our initial conversations.
Right. Did you have anything further, Trina?
Oh, yes. My main question is on the process for designating the local properties. How can we get that part straightened out quickly?
What I'd like to do is review that in depth. We've had a lot going on, and I could be, we'll review that, and then we'll make some recommendations at our meeting next week, and then we could get that back to you. Just make a focus on the landmarks. I agree. And that would help the certificate of appropriateness.
Just a minute, Alder Finkler.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Is the normal procedure for any ordinance changes to go to the ad hoc committee before it comes to COW, or is it okay to skip that ad hoc committee?
There is no procedure for the ad hoc committee. It was created and utilized for a month or two.
That is the problem why it quit meeting is because we were trying to.
Alder Motif, if you could
I'm
turn your.
sorry.
That's part of the reason behind why the ordinance ad hoc committee didn't meet for a while is because we were trying to straighten that stuff out and have the processes in place so that we had something to move forward with in the future and didn't have to go through it.
But unfortunately, the ad hoc committee just never met, and the current procedure is exactly what we're doing, but we keep tabling. This is what we're supposed to be doing. The committee of the whole should be doing this.
And I agree, but you know what? If we're going to do this right, we can, we know we had a bunch of different things that were on the agenda, and things have taken a little bit longer. I personally see no reason why we cannot table this, because if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. And we've got, other business that has to
Can we
get taken care of too.
Take a
So-
vote on tabling it to move it forward?
Sure.
Or,
So-
you know what I meant.
Can I just say, if we do table this and we wait till May 2nd, can we get Jason Tisch here to actually have a conversation with him? Because he's one of the big proponents of writing this whole thing and doing this all together, and he knows state laws better than probably most everyone else
He was,
with that.
he said with a little bit of notice, he'd gladly meet. I said evening meeting, city council, he said no problem. Goes a lot of evening meetings.
All right, well
So
then-
he's willing to meet. It is a lot to go through. And that would speed the process up, and I can reach out to him if you'd like and see.
beneficial for us to have, one of the main proponents is you've had the memo here that he knows the state laws
Yep,
of this.
he knows what
If
we
have
both
questions,
need.
he'd be able to answer them better than anyone.
Correct, I agree.
I think that's great.
Okay, table until May 2nd?
I'm okay with it, yeah.
Okay, Alder Reed?
If we're going to have Jason Tisch here, we need to actually commit to discussing this. We've tabled it twice. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
we need to actually do it.
It-
May
Yes,
2nd,
absolutely.
I would say.
We want our
I don't-
attorney here too.
I don't know if,
then?
Not necessarily paying attention, but I'm here.
and
So,
I don't know if this is ever done, but almost just a special meeting on this, because you're right, it's almost a 2-hour deal.
okay,
Okay.
well, we'll have to discuss
Well, I
the
suppose
special
if-
cow.
Yeah, if we're tabling it, we should either table it to our next meeting or table it to a special cow. That's kind of, the council needs to decide which they're doing, so that we actually do one or the other.
Okay.
I'm okay going to the next cow on May 2nd.
Okay. Alder Reed?
Oh, I'm leaning towards a special meeting, but I would be okay with the next cow.
Alder Roque?
My preference would be a special meeting.
Okay. Alder Gray?
I don't have a preference.
No preference.
Honestly, as long as we do it.
Okay. Alder Motive?
I don't have a preference either way.
Okay, Alder Finkler?
I don't have a preference either.
Okay.
Get it done.
All right, well, we will, we'll work on getting something organized for we'll initially start, see if we can get a special cow together. So, and if that doesn't work, then we'll just go to the May 2nd. So we will keep you posted.
And then, keeping me posted, then I can make sure Jason's
Yes.
available. So, Ian's been our liaison, and if that continues, then I could communicate through Ian, and then you guys can all be aware, he can communicate with us.
Sure.
That works? All right, thank you.
Okay, well. Then, item 13 is convene to close session per statute 19.85/1/E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other public business, whether whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss potential developments in the city of Columbus.
Alder Monoff will make a motion to move to closed session as per 19851E.
Do we have a second?
Alder Roki will second.
Okay, we have a motion from Alder Modoff to go to closed session and a second by Alder Roki. So a roll call, Pat.
Hammer,
Here.
Gray,
Aye.
Motive,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Roki,
Aye.
Steiner,
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we are in closed session as soon as everybody leaves. Oh, we will not be returning to open session, so.
We will be, but not.
Yes.
Thank you.